And we're live.
Live?
We don't do live very often.
Oh, a bit of a delay.
Oh, I can now I'm here on the YouTube.
I'm going to mute our video.
I muted YouTube.
And hope the chat will be faster than our actual video. All right, well.
Hey, Mark.
Hey, Mark.
Mark to you.
Before we get started with the show tonight, I'm just going to say hello, everyone from Patreon. Thanks for coming out tonight for our special Star Wars episode. And we're going to have our video keep going for this special feed, which you guys are only going to get. I guess anyone who can come and look at the video later will do that. Feel free to chat with us. I'm pointing to the right because that's where my other window is from my monitor. But feel free to chat with us as you come in. And when we see your questions, if we can catch them, then we'll try to make some comments whenever we can. So with that, I think we're ready to get started. Wow, this is really distracting. There we go. That's a lot better. Okay, there we go. So I guess we're about ready to get this thing going. And I'm not the host tonight, so that's it. Oh, I got the map.
So I guess I'm hosting for the first time. This is awesome.
Yeah.
So, hello and welcome to a special episode of the 2018 MLS Fantasy Insider podcast, episode 13, the Patreon special. It is a period of civil war in the MLS Fantasy Insider galaxy. Blaine Riffle has managed to steal the secret password to the Google Hangout. Pursued by Reed's sinister agents, Princess Lily races home, board her starship. As always, we're brought to you by MLS FantasyBoss.com and the awesome subreddit community of r/FantasyMLS. Welcome, everybody. I'm your host tonight, Blaine, and I'm here with two Star Wars experts, Michael Denton and Reed Connolly. How's everybody doing today?
Hello there.
Hello.
Oh, I can't believe hey, you paid money for Patreon. We're not going to make you listen to Reed and Michael sing Star Wars.
It'll be a new funding that we can do. Reed and Michael sing.
Yeah. Yeah, the more you spend, the less we will sing.
Reverse funding.
Yeah.
That's how we'll do it.
Like a good fundraiser for us.
Yeah, I think so. All right, well, guys, we ready for May the 4th?
I'm totally ready for May the 4th. I'm taking a day off of work. It's like my own little personal holiday. So I don't know what you guys are doing, but it's going to be exciting for me. My wife and I are going to go out and have a good time, see a movie, and then have a derby party here in the good old Commonwealth of Kentucky.
Fun.
Yeah, I'll celebrate May the 4th. I have a little bit of fun. I'm going to dress up for work tomorrow. But I'm a bigger fan of Revenge of the 5th. All you crazy Jedi fans can have your 4th and enjoy it, but I celebrate the 5th. I watch the Empire, with Anakin's help, destroy the Jedi Order and just celebrate with the best of them.
Well, I mean, I'm no fan of the Jedi, but I'm no fan of the Empire either, so I'm celebrating the spirit of Star Wars, not some sort of hokey religion.
But both the Jedi and the Sith use the 4th. So, I mean, it should be a day where we could be united. You know, we don't have to let partisan politics divide us, you know, on May the 4th. You know, it should be a day for unity across the galaxy where both Jedi and Sith can, you know, touch hands together and you feel a connection. You know.
All right, I can get behind that one. And I still have the 5th to celebrate.
And in case anyone's wondering, the last few of these episodes we did, I had Totino's pizza rolls, but tonight it's just popcorn.
And I do have my special MLS Fantasy Insider glass so that you can't actually see it because it's full of Coke and rum.
Oh. We're missing. People are talking.
Yeah.
Hey, guys. Hey, Mark Dubois.
Here.
Hey, Alex Bruni. Glad you guys are able to make it.
Yeah, and on these little more informal nights, I like to have Lily here a little bit more often, a little bit louder. She's a part of the community already anyway.
That's right. That's right.
So let's jump into our housekeeping section. I know we've had quite a few questions come through for you two. What's your favorite movie in the series?
You can go ahead, Mike.
I think my favorite It's so hard to pick, but I think mine is Return of the Jedi. I just think there's something about the ending and how unique it is, having a conversion of the enemy. I just think it's one of the boldest moves in movie franchise history. So that's kind of my personal favorite. I mean, Lando flying the Millennium Falcon is pretty awesome. So that's where I'm going to go with just my personal favorite.
Well, I thought I'd let you go first because I assumed I would maybe be the odd man out. Return of the Jedi is also hands down my favorite one as well. I love space battles, and that one's got the best space battle, in my opinion, that the movies have to offer. I have no problems with Ewoks, and I also enjoy sort of the comedy that happens there on Endor. And of course, the two strongest Force users die, and I love that as well. So I'm always good for some Force passion. But yeah, no, I just love everything about Return of the Jedi.
Wait, are we going to get into it that Reed hates the Force? Like, Reed is a massive Star Wars fan who hates the Force.
There's one of us. I have a Facebook page. No, I don't.
Well, I guess I'm the odd man out in this group, but I'm an Empire Strikes Back fan myself.
You're like you and everybody else likes that dumb movie.
Yeah, but I was my favorite when I was a kid at about 6 or 7 years old.
Here's why I don't like The Empire Strikes Back it is with the three original movies, it doesn't hold up on its own. Like the themes it's trying to put out there, it just doesn't hold up on its own. It requires one of the other two movies with it for you to understand what's going on. Otherwise, it's just a bunch of random people running around in space getting chased by somebody else, and you don't know why.
And I think that's why I like it so much.
Because you don't like plot?
No, I like plot. It just bridged the plot between all three movies.
But it by itself is weak because it needs the other ones to even survive. So I don't think it can be the best if it can't even be good without another thing.
It has Boba. It's good by itself.
It's good by itself. That's ridiculous.
Oh.
All right. So
I'm interested to read his thoughts on franchises in general. If you have to, how do you watch Marvel movies, Reed?
All right. So
very easily.
So that was your favorite movie. What do you think the best movie in the series is?
I'll let you go first, Reed.
Well, I mean, my favorite, it must be the best one as well. I have rankings with that, and so I mean, ROTJ is at the top of my ranks. After that, I go with A New Hope because I just feel the classic movie that started everything. It has to have a high place on that list, and it works well for me. I still enjoy A New Hope. Rogue One is easily third for me. I thought that was a fantastic movie. Then I would say Episode 2. It kind of depends on the day you catch me. Sometimes I like Episode 2 better than Episode 3, but I'm kind of more of an Episode 2 guy right now. Some of the story elements are better. Finding the army and kind of that opening chase scene's pretty cool. I enjoy that. Then I would put Empire Strikes Back right there at fifth, I think I'm at fifth, yeah. Then Episode 3 for me. By the time they got to the third prequel, I think it was just clearly this gigantic international money cash cow, and it was just made for that way. Explosions and chases and not much really going on at all. Then I would put The Last Jedi, then The Force Awakens, and end up with Episode 1. Though I've been warming to Episode 1 as of late, so maybe it would jump up over these new movies.
All right, I'll start from worst to best. Okay. The worst one I think is Attack of the Clones, mostly because of the acting and the dialogue written, which we'll get into later. Then I'm gonna go with Phantom Menace. That one is just like an annoying kids movie. Like when you watch it now, you're just like, oh, this is like something like an 8-year-old would watch. But it's not that bad outside of that. It's just expectations. Then I have Revenge of the Sith. Then I go Rogue One right after that. I see Thrawn popping up now. The Force Awakens right above that. Then I get into Return of the Jedi, which I mean I like, but as far as like movie quality, I'll rank it a little bit lower. Then A New Hope, which I kind of rank highly up there just because of like what it did for space battles and action and like what they did and created just to like change
science fiction and movies in general.
Yeah. Then I have Empire Strikes Back. And then the best movie is the one I haven't named, which is The Last Jedi.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No.
It is the best movie because it has the layering. It has one of the best character developments. And all of that. So come at me.
I don't feel like I can yet because that's another question later on in the rundown. So no, yeah, the new movies are clearly awful because they're just regurgitations of all the other movies. So I mean, there's nothing unique, creative, or good about it. So they're bad, and I don't like them.
None of that is true. Or if you're going to accept
all of it,
you have to accept that it's true. Then all of Star Wars is derivative because all of it is Campbell's hero's tale.
Right. No, people always make that same argument when I say this about, oh, well, everything comes from this, yada, yada. No, I get it. And you can take inspirations from something else. But when you take inspirations from your same thing and just copy and paste elements from your other movies into a different order, into a new movie, and try to tell me it's something new and creative, no. I don't need to see a Death Star for a third and fourth time in a movie. Give me something else, but I'll rant about that later.
Oh, this is so much fun. So we've talked movies. Are you guys fans of the cartoon spinoffs?
Definitely. I'm a huge fan of the Clone Wars movie, or I guess not the movie, but the whole series they had. I thought it started out light enough to get kids interested and enjoy that, but that it kept an edge and got a little bit darker later on that helped keep adults interested in it. And I've also been a big fan of the new Rebels movie as well, especially since they reintroduced Thrawn into the canon. So gotta love that.
I've only seen the first 2 seasons of Rebels. I'm still trying to catch up whenever my wife is indulgent enough to like, hey, let's watch a cartoon tonight. But I mean, what I've seen of Rebels so far has been good. So hopefully I'll finish that off pretty soon. But I've been more of a comic books guy for the new EU.
Got to answer any questions, Blaine. You can join in too in the fun.
Oh, yeah. I haven't actually gotten to watch Rebels yet. I like the Clone Wars. I've been through it twice now, and I think it's held up pretty well. Season 5, I think, got a little slow for me, but overall, I really like what they did, and I thought it played in really well to the rest of the series. I do have to respond really quick to Mark. I think it was just bashing on Boba for me, just to sell action figures. But I mean, I guess that Mark is what he's there for.
As someone who plays Battlefront 2 a lot, Mark is absolutely 100% that Boba is a coward who runs away in every fight in every video game. Like I literally, like before, just played a Heroes versus Villains in Battlefront 2, and I was Boba Fett, and I was just jetpacking around so they couldn't.
But it is
you
true.
psyched yourself up for the episode tonight, Battlefront.
He is just there to sell action figures. He made his debut in the Christmas special, was so popular as a random character that he came back and they just sold action figures on him like crazy. So,
hashtag capitalism.
Yeah.
And Mark, it's funny you say that about the Clone Wars series when you had to teach your daughter about swearing. For me, it was The Force Awakens because Finn says damn when they're flying through on a Jakku. And all of a sudden, my son started saying damn. I'm like, oh, shoot, come on.
All right, let's stick with the movies for a minute. Who's your favorite character? I mean, mine's pretty obvious to everybody around here now.
after your little spiel there, Wedge Antilles is whoop, I got it right here. Wedge Antilles, favorite character.
Oh, awesome.
Oh, if we're going to do that. Director Krennic. Love this dude. There's something about like the fact that he's like a hipster in because if you read any of this stuff, he's like total hipster. He has like an antique weapon, an antique spaceship, and he just has like the coolest outfit. So I mean, like if you were really pushing me, I'd probably say something like Luke or Kylo as far as like characters, but as far as like fun characters, it's gotta be Krennic.
No, I mean Wedge isn't even a fun character for me. He's legit my favorite character because he is a a character that does not have to rely on being weak and using the Force to supplement not having any skills. He's just that damn good on his own, and he blows up 2 Death Stars. Participates.
I think they give him credit for the second one.
Oh, he's totally got 2 Death Stars painted on his X-Wing. It's the first one he doesn't do a whole lot on.
Yeah, first one he flies off because he can't stay in the trench.
He's an effective shield.
Yeah. So, favorite EU character?
Oh, Mark, that's a good one right there. Mara Jade action figure. She's a good character. But not my favorite. Mike, who's yours?
My favorite is 000 from the Darth Vader in Africa. If you don't know, haven't read any of those, 000 is essentially C-3PO, but he's black and he's also a murderer robot. Like, and so he has like that same like British humor, but like he enjoys torturing people. It's just hilarious.
Thrawn, easily for me. He's chilling out with me today. Thrawn is my favorite EU character, which I guess is he canon now because of Disney, or can I still pick Thrawn because of I guess we have to say
he's
canon
canon, so he's EU as far as I'm concerned. I still consider the cartoons to be EU.
Yeah, I mean, the new cartoons are canon, so he's considered canon.
Are we gonna say EU is anything not movies? Expanded
expanded universe. Yeah, just the non-standard media that we expect to get from Star Wars.
Thrawn, easily.
Yeah, I haven't read as much of the expanded universe stuff, but Thrawn was always one of my favorites.
Yeah, I did read the new Thrawn book. It's good. I'm really looking forward to Thrawn Alliances in a few months. That sounds really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean Thrawn and Vader. That's gonna be fun.
I've pre-ordered that new book, and I've also pre-ordered the Thrawn comic book compilation.
Okay. Well, you guys are leading right into the next question.
All right,
what we got? We had a couple of guys on Twitter and Reddit ask for recommendations on the new canon. Do you like it? And can you give us your top 3 books that you'd recommend to people looking to get into it?
Oh, no, I got to give a shout out to Mark real quick, bringing up HK47 as a favorite character again. Mark, getting the good options here. Yes, you meat bag. 47 is also a fantastic EU character. Sorry. Anyway, books. I love them. Mike.
Yeah, I mean, the books are pretty good. If you were looking to start, I would maybe recommend just trying out a bunch from your library, like, because a lot of them aren't going to be ones you're going to pick up over and over again. So, like, that's what I do, is just get the hits from the library. Places to start. Probably depends on, like, what era you're more interested in. If you're, like, really interested in, like, the Minds of an Imperial, Lost Stars is really good. It's about like 2 Imperials as they go through the academy and kind of the events of the original trilogy as it goes forward. I also liked Inferno Squad. About another group of Imperials. I really like that one on the audiobook too. Trying to think of what are some of the I had a list. Let me find my list. Reed, why don't you kick off your list, and then while I find what I wrote down.
Sure. It's funny. I'm much more of a. I'm turned this way now, viewers, because I'm looking at my book collection that I tweeted out a little bit ago. My 3 favorite books for the new canon that's come out are Thrawn, Tarkin, and Phasma. Probably in that order.
Phasma was very good.
Yeah, probably in that order. Thrawn's just a great book. I really enjoy. It's done by Timothy Zahn again. I love that he's bringing him back. Kept a lot of the same characteristics of what he was. It didn't get a lot of changing, but it gave you more of that behind the scenes sort of him rising through the ranks of the Empire that I really enjoyed. I just couldn't put it down at times. Tarkin, I wish I had the hardback version of this one, but I missed that one, so that's on my wish list at some point. It's the history of Tarkin, and he has interactions with Vader throughout the whole book, but it has flashbacks to his youth that I really enjoyed. Some people bashed it because it kind of deals with some political elements, not like modern day political elements, but it has some of the political elements of Tarkin's time in there, but I enjoyed that. I thought Tarkin was a great read, and the Phasma was another one. Mike recommended that one to me when I started it. I maybe finished it in like a week because it just goes and you read and it's just enticing the whole way through and gives you a background to kind of another Boba Fettish type character where you don't have much going on. She seemed completely useless in episode 7. But the book was fantastic and the comic supplement was also very good. I'll let you finish your list, Mike, then I'll go on with another thought.
What I also want to throw out there is From a Certain Point of View. It's a collection of 40 short stories. So, I mean, it's real easy to kind of pick up, and it's really fun because it's a bunch of, like, very, like, random characters. You get, like, backstories. That's pretty good. I wasn't as big of a fan of the Aftermath trilogies. That's the one that a lot of people kind of start with because it explains Jakku, but it doesn't do enough for me. I liked, you know what's weird? It's kind of a weirder one, but the Legends of Luke Skywalker that they just released before The Last Jedi, that's actually pretty good because it's kind of like, it's like different people telling stories about Luke with varying degrees of accuracy, and it's really fun. So those are definitely some places to start. I mean, I don't think any of them are like truly terrible. They're just like on a scale, like some are just not as great as some of the others.
Yeah, Mike and I talked a lot about Aftermath, and I think he's totally right about where do you want to start if you want to get some of the background into how to bridge that gap between Return of the Jedi and these awful new movies. Then Aftermath does that for you. It tells you how the Empire ended up the way it is to be the First Order in the new movies. Bloodlines is also another one I would think would fall into that. Maybe that it's a separate book, not part of that trilogy, but those 4, Mark DuPont chiming in saying Aftermath was lousy. But no, Bloodlines, I'd probably say I like Bloodlines better than Aftermath. Bloodlines talks about Leia and sort of if Aftermath is the beginnings of how the First Order came about, then Bloodlines is a much shorter version of how the Resistance starts to sort of swell up, and some of that. So those are some good ones. But if you just want some one-offs, I think the 3 that I rambled off are pretty good. I'm, again, looking over. Haven't read Lost Stars yet, but I want to now that hearing Mike talk about that one. Twilight Company, based off of the Battlefield, I enjoyed that one more than Inferno Squad, which Mike liked, but I really enjoyed Twilight Company.
I haven't read.
It gives you the point of view. Again, I like these non-Force using characters, and Twilight Company lets you sort of see what the war was like, the rebellion was like, from a group of grunts going around, not experiencing these same events that we got to see in the movies. And so I really enjoyed that. And I haven't read the Ahsoka book yet, but a friend of mine did, and she said that one was pretty good.
Yeah, I haven't read the Ahsoka book because I've been trying to catch up on the cartoons before I read the Ahsoka book, so I can actually like get.
Does the Ahsoka book follow or is it kind of bridge the gap between the 2 series?
I assume so.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to kind of wrap up what happened
because it came out a few years ago, so I think it's post Clone Wars.
Post Clone Wars, pre Rebels.
I think so. Yeah, Mark. You wanted Cat Phasma to be killed off. I totally get that. But in the book, she's like total badass. I was one of my criticisms of Last Jedi is that they kind of shirk back from that. And if you've seen The Last Jedi's deleted scenes, there's a deleted scene which would have made so much more sense. Where Finn brings up like, hey, you were the one who lowered the shields. And then she basically just, who would believe you? And then she shoots the other stormtroopers just to make sure no one else knows. But yeah, she's a badass. She is a badass.
Yeah, I personally haven't read any of these yet, but you're making me have a hard time picking the ones off my shelf to read first.
Also, another one that's good. It's a little bit more young adult, so it's definitely written to like a teenage girl audience, so you have to put up with that. But Princess Leia of Alderaan, I thought was interesting. It's the story of how Leia got started in the rebellion. So that one's pretty good for that information. Other than like putting up with, oh, here's a teenage girl, here's her crush, blah blah blah, stuff that you get from every YA stuff. If you can kind of like trudge through that, it's still pretty good because I mean Leia is such a good character. I don't remember if that was Delilah Dawson or who wrote that, but she did a good job of it.
Love the expanded universe, whatever you want to call it. There's
Okay,
just
now,
so much stuff.
But before we skip, we haven't talked. I don't think we have a question about comics, which we did get some.
Yeah, that's EU. Go for it. I have not read any of the comics either, but if you guys are familiar with them, I know some of my friends used to read the Old Republic stuff and absolutely loved it.
Well, I will say I think the Darth Vader series, both the old series from 2015 and the new one that they just started, are very, very good. The 2015 one is phenomenal. That one covers what Darth Vader did after the destruction of the first Death Star, towards trying to find the rebellion in Hoth. So that one's really good because it features him finding out about Luke, which is really fun to see. Blaine would like it. It has Boba Fett in it, so that's good. If you liked more of the Clone Wars Rebels stuff, the one that they're doing right now is good. That shows how Sith make their lightsabers and that process, which is cool. Kind of a little bit more of the Inquisition and carrying out Order 66. So both those comics are pretty good. And then spinoff of that is Afra, which I really like, kind of a quirky, different Star Wars character. Kind of a lot of zany fun. I don't like the Poe Dameron ones as much. I kind of got bored with that. But there are definitely some good comics out there.
I don't have quite as broad of an experience as Mike does with the comics. I read the Darth Maul group. I read the Phasma comic, and then I've got the Shattered Empires comic that touches some of the different characters. But I've enjoyed all the ones that I've read. I've got the Thrawn one on pre-order. But what I really like is I got a hold of some of the, legacy editions of the X-Wing comics, the Rogue Squadron comics. And that's kind of my jam in general. And so I've been looking through some of those. But from just skimming through some things at bookstores, I think a lot of the comics are awesome, and they do get to go into some deeper elements that I think have been a lot of fun.
Awesome. Well, for everybody listening and looking for more Star Wars for May the 4th, there you go. Check out one of these books. Hit your local library and see if you can find any of it. We've got one quick review for everybody tonight as well. I've asked Mike and Reed to give me, in 3 minutes or less, their thoughts on the 3 newest movies in the series. So that would be the 2 in the new trilogy and Rogue One. So who wants to go first on that one?
I think it's host choice.
I'll let Mike start.
Whether you want the attacker or the defender, because I think we know where we're going to stand.
I'll let Mike start this one.
All right. So the new movies. Since we're kind of criticize Rogue One a little bit, in that I don't think Rogue One has a whole lot of character development, and that's what I really like about the other 2 movies. I think Rey and Finn, and especially Kylo, are really good, well acted. And there's a lot of depth there to think about. And it's also kind of interesting in relation to the events now, this kind of past grandeur, both of the Empire and of the Republic, that all the characters are now trying to get back to. I think that's a really interesting idea. Good. I just didn't have enough of the characters, which, interestingly enough, we didn't talk about this in the EU. Catalyst gives you a whole lot of really good background, and actually makes you care. More of that was in the actual movie. But, I think the new movies are pretty good. I mean, I space fight, but the battle space fights in there as well. And, the throne scene with Snoke, I think, was really a really genuine surprise, because no one was expecting that turn so quickly. And to me, the acting that Adam Driver did with Daisy Ridley, with Rey, is probably some of the best acting we've seen in Star Wars. It's not a franchise that's known for a whole lot of tremendous acting. And that's where I think you get a lot of that. And I think there's a lot of depth. To me, one of the best things about The Last Jedi is the way it enriches the prequels. I think it gives a lot more depth, especially when Yoda talks about the failure of the Jedi and the need for the new generations to move beyond their failures. I think it gives a lot more humility to the Jedi looking back at the prequels and recognizing that there was a failure there. Whereas the prequels themselves, when you watch it, you're just kind of like, wait, I'm supposed to be rooting for the Jedi, but like they keep screwing up in like pretty clear ways. They're clearly arrogant. And so there's a lot of depth in The Last Jedi, with the way their characters interweave between each other, ways certain like offhand comments relate back and foreshadow. I think it's a really well-written piece. So I've been really enjoying the characters and the writing and all of that. So I think that's probably my 3 minutes. So I'll kick it to Reed to tear it down.
Pretty much. Rogue One was fantastic. I thought it fits in really well with the original movies. It never felt like it was just a cheap copy of the previous movies. I think it truly comes off as a supplement to the series, which is what the Star Wars story movies are supposed to be. I feel like that's an easy one that people who aren't Star Wars fans can watch and kind of be a gateway to the franchise as a whole. The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi are garbage. They are just scenes and themes from the original movies rehashed, regurgitated, and reordered. I am not a fan at all. I think Kylo Ren is horrible. I hated the acting. He's just a little whiny dork. I don't like him at all. I thought Finn is just another human Jar Jar Binks. I didn't think anything was positive about him. It's just all been the same stuff. We got the Salt Battle of Hoth. We got 2 new Death Stars. I guess you could argue the second one was kind of like the Darksaber and copying off the old EU. But yeah, we had another Death Star blowing up more planets and another trench run / flying into the Death Star, a la Episode 1 or A New Hope and Return of the Jedi. I just have nothing redeeming about The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi. For me, they've just not been enjoyable movies in general.
Well, I'm going to split the difference on this one. I agree with Reed on Rogue One. It was a good supplement. It was a lot of fun. It was a good one-off. There's no character development, but pretty much every character they throw in there has to die because they don't show up in the original trilogy. So, I mean, it makes sense. It does its job as a Star Wars movie. It fills in some holes. It answers some questions, gives you a fun ride, and it's just done. I tend to agree with Reed on The Force Awakens. I don't see much redeeming in that movie. It was a rehash. It wasn't a very well done rehash, in my opinion, and I absolutely hated it. It's the one that I've watched only once since it came out on Blu-ray, DVD, and I just kind of watched it because I couldn't sleep one night and whatever. It's the one movie I haven't really wanted to go back and watch again, and that's crazy for a Star Wars movie for me. But I absolutely love The Last Jedi. I think it's probably the best movie, maybe not the best Star Wars movie, but I think it's the best movie in the series as a movie. I know exactly why a lot of people hate it. I understand where the hate comes from. The Facebook meme said it best. It's a movie about letting go of the past and embracing the unknown for a group of fans that can't let go of the past and embrace the unknown. I thought it was gearing up for a rehash until Kylo kills Snoke. And that is a complete break from the original trilogy. Vader was always Palpatine's lapdog. It wasn't until the very end that he broke the master-student cycle there, and he died for it. We now have our first Sith who is completely unchained and masterless, and we're going to get to see something brand new in Star Wars that we've never seen before, and I am really excited for that. I'll agree with Reed again. Finn is a horrible character. He's detestable. After Last Jedi, I can't wait to see him die in the next one. Like, I'm
just mad because he.
And I know they're going to redeem him. They're going to give him some cool story to redeem him, and he's not going to die. But, I mean, just the cowardly trying to kill himself to take out the gun or whatever. I mean, there's a lot going on there. I just very flat. Did not like that character at all.
So I have to do rebuttal for an extended. Another thing, just for the extended rant, another thing that infuriates me about the original movie, I guess not the original, sorry, about The Force Awakens, is there's clearly a better story to be told. When they make the allusions to the fall of Luke's academy, I think that would have been the better story for the 7th movie, not the garbage that they gave us. And so that's what also makes me really mad about The Force Awakens. The Last Jedi, no, I enjoyed the opening battle scene with the bombers and that, which don't totally make sense in space, but I still enjoyed that. I did not enjoy the homage, I guess, back to Harrison Ford, Han Solo on being a snarky on the intercom. It just got too much. So from the beginning, from the very beginning of The Last Jedi, I was turned off with that. And that's been a general problem for me at times, is I realized that they were trying to bridge that gap between old people and new people and old fans and trying to get new fans. But I think they've hit people over the head with some of these old elements, and I don't appreciate it, or when it especially gets all slapsticky, kind of like they did with Poe on the intercom like that. I did not enjoy. We can't forget to mention sort of the random gambling city scene that happens in The Last Jedi. I feel like it's out of place, especially with just the convenience of that ship being able to escape all the blockade and everything to go out there and do that random thing. I didn't like that as an element of itself. If you didn't see Kylo going to kill Snoke coming, then I don't know what you've been watching for these last 2 movies. I saw him going to kill Han Solo before that even happened, and it seemed pretty obvious that he was going to kill Snoke as well from the beginning of that. So I don't see that as a huge surprise or shock. That just seemed destined to happen, and it's not the first time we've seen one Dark Jedi user by themselves. That happened after Anakin killed Dooku in the first movie. He's going to try to find a new apprentice. He already kind of did with Rey anyway. It's just what that happens, and so I don't think any of that is giving merit to anything that's happened in these new movies. End rant. Let's answer Mark's question.
Yeah, Mark, thanks for giving this one. We completely forgot this medium. Favorite video games, and I'm going to expand this to just games in general because I'm a big board gamer, and I have got quite a few Star Wars IP board games that I love. So I'll give some insight on that for anybody who plays board games, but I'll let Reed and Mike take it away with the video games. Reed, we'll let you go first this time.
Let me go first. I'm going to get some deep pulls for you then as far as Star Wars video games. I really enjoyed the game Yoda Stories back on like Windows 98 or 95. It's a tiny little pop-up game with sort of adventure game-esque, going around trying to solve some puzzles, find some items, and put it all together to win. That was a good one. Star Wars Rebellion. It was sort of like Civ, I guess, for Star Wars. I really enjoyed that one back in the day. I think also playing on maybe in 98 or that may have been a Windows XP game back then, but that was a pretty deep pull. More modern games. I'll move you to that. I actually have to admit that I did the Star Wars MMO that they came out, not Galaxies. It's now the Knights of the Old Republic. I did that one. I did enjoy playing that for a little while with some friends, but KOTOR in general, I think, has to be one of the best Star Wars games.
For me, I played so much with my friend because we had, what was it? Is it Conquest or whatever it was? Where you could take over a planet and then you try to over all the planets. Like
Yep.
we did that for hours because we could always just go back and forth. So for me, that's probably my favorite video game. I did enjoy Battlefront, the first one they had in 2015, even though it wasn't as deep of a game. The one they have out now, Battlefront 2, is much deeper. It's pretty good. The playthrough isn't the best. So I think it's still pretty good. I mean, you know, as far as like living out your fantasy of flying an X-Wing and shooting stormtroopers, it's pretty good.
I played Battlefront back on Xbox. I don't play the new ones, but I played those. My stepbrother and I played hours and hours on those games and loved them. Reed, you're talking about some of the deep pulls. I love the deep pulls on this. I played more Empire at War than Rebellion, but GOG.com, Good Old Games, has a May the 4th special running. You can pick up almost every single one of these old games for between $2 and $5. So if you're looking for one of them, they're all out there right now. Rebellion's on there, Dark Forces 1 and 2, the Jedi Knight series is all there. The old school Battlefronts are out there, so those are great.
Let's not forget the old Decipher Star Wars card game either.
Yeah, see, I didn't do Decipher. Mark mentioned Epic Duels, which I have heard good things. I am trying to track down a copy of that one that's complete. I saw one online the other day that was missing some cards. Like I said, I'm a board gamer, so I look for all of these. I had the Duel of the Fates card game, which was a lot of fun. Two really cool metal minis in there. But I've gotten into some of the newer Fantasy Flight game stuff that's come out. Star Wars Imperial Assault is a tabletop dungeon crawler where you can play 4 versus 1. They've added some brand new characters to the series, and you're playing against an Imperial character, and they just released an app this year where you can play by yourself or play with a group of 4 people and run against an app that's awesome. For fans of the big Civil War era, there's Rebellion that I really like. It can be a 2-on-2, but it plays better as a 1 versus 1. The Rebels are trying to blow up a Death Star and take down the Empire before the Empire can destroy the Rebel base, and you've got a bunch of planets. It's very similar to the old video game and just a lot of fun. But one of my favorites that's come out in the last couple of years is a new one called Star Wars Destiny, and it's a collectible game, kind of like Magic the Gathering, but you've got dice that go with it, and you're building squads of characters, light side versus dark side, and you're battling in a Magic-style game, but you're rolling dice to see what some of your stuff does, and there's a lot of that random element and chance, and it's a blast, and it's accessible to kids. I've seen 5- and 6-year-olds playing it semi-competitively and having a blast, and it's one of my new favorites, and I've got a group that I try to play with as often as I can, so I prefer that to the video games these days, a little more interaction, but there's all sorts of gaming stuff out there for it.
Where are the Cheetos? Can I have a Mountain Dew? Roll the dice to see if I'm getting drunk.
There is a Star Wars RPG out there as well.
I did the old D20 system.
Well, I think that wraps up our housekeeping and reviews, and I decided to have some fun with this, so we've got a little bit of head-to-head action going since we don't have any games to talk about. So first one I've got for you two, Driver's Kylo Ren versus Christensen's Anakin. Most pathetic character, worst acted, and who would win in the duel for this one?
All right, well, I'm clearly taking Kylo. I'm assuming Reed's taking Anakin, right?
Most pathetic is Kylo. Worst acted is Kylo. And Skywalker wins in a duel.
Yeah, I think I'm going to take the opposite on all of those. So, all right. You want to go first, Reed, or should I?
Have at it.
All right. So I'm going to point to the existence of a subreddit called Prequel Memes. And the whole reason that subreddit exists was because Anakin Skywalker, played by Hayden Christensen, was such a terrible actor that literally everything he said was so bad, so memorably bad, that it became a meme. All the stuff about sand, about, you underestimate my power. I see through the lies of the Jedi. That's because he's a bad actor, poorly delivering lines. Adam Driver is the character Anakin Skywalker should have been in the prequels. Someone who's who can't contain his rage, who's uncontrollable, who has a lot of power, but is genuinely conflicted about the light and the dark. There's genuine conflict in Kylo. There's not in Hayden. You cannot watch his relationship with Padme without cringing. And this is not just me as a Star Wars fan. We watched the prequels recently with my wife, and she was like, oh gosh, this is bad. Like, how did this get through all the general things of people making a movie with so much money made and it being so bad? So whereas like Kylo Ren, all he's done is like touch Rey's hand, and there's been more chemistry in that one moment than Hayden Christensen managed over the course of 2 movies with Padme. And not just like Padme, We're talking about a great actress who is playing Padme in Natalie Portman, and he still couldn't get anything remotely interesting out of her character or out of that relationship. So to me, as far as the acting, and it's 100% Kylo Ren. Now, as far as the strength, I think Anakin is very strong. And I could see him besting Kylo Ren, but I think Kylo Ren's just brute force. We've never seen Anakin in any of the movies stop a lightsaber blast. I think that shows that Kylo does have a level of power that Anakin didn't quite have. So I think Kylo could beat that one. Now, if we're talking about Darth Vader versus Kylo, I think that might be a different story. But and if we're talking about Anakin specifically, I think Kylo has the edge. And I could just watch Reed just getting so angry with everything that I said.
I mean, I'm not angry. I just thought the Kylo character was very one-dimensional. He's just a spoiled brat who whines and throws tantrums. And so I never saw anything mean or menacing or good about the way it was acted or the character in general. I just thought it was sort of a waste of a bad guy. And so, I mean, I'm not defending Hayden Christensen at all. As Anakin, because he was also not good, but I don't like the Kylo Ren character as it was portrayed or it in general. And so I think it's the most pathetic. I think it's the worst acted because it's just so one-dimensional, and that Anakin wins in a duel. I think he's stronger. And I think he just has to say, I become Darth Vader, and then Kylo goes, what? And then gets stabbed.
I'll split the difference again. I think the Kylo character is pathetic. I think he's written that way. I think that's part of the story element they're going for here. I don't necessarily like it, but Driver is acting it very well. It's just poor character writing there. Hayden Christensen's just a terrible actor, and it was painful to watch a lot of those scenes as I got older. I think I was a junior in high school when Episode 3 came out. And at that point, it was like, ooh, this is new and flashy. But as I've gone back and looked at it a little bit more, it's just bad. And then Anakin wins in a duel, hands down. We haven't seen Kylo do anything. And as Mark pointed out, I was going to bring it up too. He got beat by Finn. I mean,
he's not a Jedi.
Okay. He's getting beat by people.
By Chewbacca's bowcaster, and it just killed his dad. So, like, they're extenuating. And he didn't get beat by Finn. Finn is blind split up. Like, he didn't get beat by Finn. He's toying with Finn.
Man, if Finn can hold his own against Kylo, even after he's been shot, I mean, that's pretty bad.
It's pretty clear. I thought that Kylo was toying with him because I thought he was kind of enjoying it. You get a sense of like perverse pleasure. Like it's only like because when the second like Finn hits him, he's like, "All right, I'm done with this," and then he cuts Finn in half.
Yeah, even that though, I'll pull out some old school stuff on Anakin's side. He and Obi-Wan fought the same form. Obi-Wan's was the pure defensive side of it. Anakin's was almost all offense, and he really made Obi-Wan work for that. Some of the old school stuff had Obi-Wan listed as one of the best saberists out there. Now he had no offense to go with it. It was purely defensive, which is why he didn't get a ton of the credit. But with the way he and Anakin fought and with the way Anakin took it to him, and I know he ended up losing the battle, but just how evenly matched they were, I got to say Anakin, best saberist out there.
I would submit, well, I wouldn't deny that Anakin's better, but I would also submit that Obi-Wan wasn't fighting to beat him. His whole point until the very end was fighting, trying to save him. And so he would have been holding back. I would say about that, I still don't think I would disagree that ultimately Anakin is a better duelist. But I think they had different motivations fighting.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
And speaking of Obi-Wan, and we're going to put direction aside on this one because George Lucas didn't help these characters out. Ewan McGregor versus Alec Guinness. Mike, I'll let you start this one.
I take Alec Guinness. I think what Alec Guinness brings to that role is just a sense of calm and wisdom. Which, I mean, even within a franchise that has Yoda out there, I think he has that a different quality to him that really kind of grounds him and roots him. Now, Ewan McGregor does do a fantastic job. Even with all the problems of the prequels, Ewan McGregor is clearly not one of them. But I think he's what Ewan McGregor does is able to get in Obi-Wan, which brings out the qualities that Alec Guinness has already established. So I give the edge to Alec Guinness over Ewan McGregor, but they're both very good.
Reed?
I don't disagree that they're both very good. I think I would go with McGregor as probably the better Obi-Wan. I liked seeing his transformation from Padawan to Knight more than we kind of get with Guinness. And I know you said direction aside, but you didn't say anything about opinion of the franchise in general aside. And Alec Guinness did nothing but bash Star Wars and what it was and people's enjoyment of it for the rest of his life. And I just can't go with that. I get it if you don't like science fiction and some of this, but I think Star Wars created a universe and it created advancements in movie making in general that are worth talking about, and anything that helps to spur that sort of creative spark within someone, I think is worth cultivating. And he just sort of put that down with it as being worthless. And so I don't like him because of that. But I did, on just the character side, all of that aside, I enjoyed watching the progression of McGregor's character.
Yeah, I'll save my McGregor comment for a little bit later because we got another section that he really offsets nicely. He is one of my favorite characters out of the whole series. I love what Alec Guinness brought. Tremendous actor. I loved how he played the role, and I thought he was really perfect on screen. But there's a little nugget from McGregor's Obi-Wan that I'll get into a little bit later that just sells it for me there. So from serious topic to, let's go to a little bit more lighthearted one. Are you team Ewoks or team Gungans?
Yub.
Oh, they agree for once.
Oh, yeah.
I think that may be the first time on this podcast.
That's true. I think it is the first time on this podcast. I mean, Ewoks are awesome. I know, like, people are like, oh, they're stupid teddy bears. Like, they're a lot of fun, and they also eat people. Like, they're teddy bears who eat people. If you get into the video games, if you play Star Wars Battlefront, they recently released a mode called Ewok Hunt, which is like stormtroopers the day after the Death Star exploded, and they're at night, pitch black, and they're getting hunted by Ewoks. It's so much fun.
See, to me, Ewoks were just Jawas 2.0. I mean, there was a little bit different, but I don't know. I just saw Jawas 2.0 on that. I don't know. There was just something about the Gungans. I think there's a lot more there that you could explore. The Ewoks, you kind of saw everything. There's more to the Gungans. They're just I like them as a race. Jar Jar was a horrible example of a Gungan, but I think there's a lot more that they could explore with that group and see where they could take it. That, and they took on a whole battle droid army. I mean, that was pretty epic to watch.
Now they were getting beaten by a whole battle droid army is what was happening until they turned them off. The Ewoks were beating the Empire and all of their mechanized glory with logs and boomerangs.
Well, we have a few comments from YouTube I want to get to. But I pointed out the terrible scene of McGregor watching the security holograms in the Jedi Temple. Most shocked character ever. Yeah, that could be kind of hard. Although I'll give Ewan McGregor a little bit of credit there because, I mean, he's probably just looking at a blank screen and George Lucas is saying faster, more intense. So I won't. And then, yes, we do need the original Return of the Jedi signing song. And quite frankly, we need the original movies, period. Like, give me I am so excited about this Disney Fox deal just for the purpose of Disney releasing an edition of the original movies without the special editions. Because, like, every time you watch the special editions, you're like, wait a minute, that's changed. That pisses me off.
All right, our final head-to-head of the night, and this was kind of a last edition. Two juggernaut actors who came in, had some huge roles beforehand. Which one do you prefer in the Star Wars universe? Liam Neeson versus Peter Cushing?
Ooh.
Cushing.
Yeah, I think it's Cushing too. I mean, there's a reason they had to digitally recreate him. I mean, as little as he gave, I think his performance was iconic. Whereas Liam Neeson's wasn't a bad performance, but I don't think there was anything like particularly memorable or noteworthy. I mean, it's an interesting enough character, but there's just not a whole lot to it that at least like Liam can bring out. I think when I say interesting character, I think there's interesting places they could have gone, but they really didn't. So, whereas I think like Tarkin sets the mood of the Empire. I mean, you know, before that, we don't know who the Emperor is. It's kind of hard to remember that, but there is no Emperor. Tarkin is the Emperor. He's the one who's leading Vader. And so I think he really sets the stage. This is what the Empire is. This is the sterility, the coldness, the tactical genius of the Empire. And he really makes the Empire the big baddies, even more so than the Death Star itself.
And the cockiness that ends up being its weakness as well. That comes out there.
Yeah.
I agree with Mike. I like them both. I have no problems with Liam Neeson as all with his Qui-Gon. I enjoy them both, but yeah, it's just there is something just so iconic about Tarkin, and I think that was going back to our previous question with the books, that made me excited to read a book about Tarkin and get into more of that character, because there just seems so much to him that it was really enjoyable.
Yeah, Cushing got his own book with Tarkin, probably because of his presence on screen. I think Liam Neeson really did set up a good character. Some of the extended stuff, how he took Obi-Wan as an apprentice, some of that backstory is pretty cool. How strong a defier he was of the Council at times, and how much he stood against some of what they believed, which we're going to talk about some of that later too. I think without Liam Neeson in that role, the whole Qui-Gon character kind of falls apart in some of what they did with the extended universe. I think his presence on screen helped build some of what that character became.
So
we didn't. I'm not a huge fan of
Cushing. Yeah, Cushing still wins. I think Liam Neeson brought a lot, but you don't see that in the movie. You don't see that from him. It's just who he is helped shape the character, but you don't see it come out of him.
I mean, that's kind of fine. I don't particularly care for, I mean, I do, even though I don't like it, I do have opinions about the Force, and I don't really care for that sort of grayness they introduced with him. But as the actor, I mean, I didn't dislike his portrayal.
So talking about Qui-Gon made me think of something that we didn't put on the rundown, but we should probably have a quick shout. What is your favorite lightsaber duel?
Oh.
Because, I mean, Duel of the Fates is pretty iconic. For as many problems as Phantom Menace has, that score ain't one of them. And that fight is pretty special. But, I mean, I have my thoughts on this, but I'm interested in what you all think.
Man, I don't think about the lightsaber fights a lot. I mean, that's a good fight. Yeah, I mean, the choreography with the double-bladed lightsaber, the 2-on-1 and everything. I mean, it's a good battle. I would probably go with that. I mean, it's almost not fair in some sense, just you have a different level of choreography going from the originals to these new ones, being able to get a lot more into it. I mean, some of them are pretty lame, I guess, going back and looking at the fights.
Well, in the originals, you've got two fights that are completely geared towards toying with the other person. I mean, Obi-Wan's not fighting to win the duel. He knows what the outcome's going to be. He's just buying time. Vader's not trying to kill Luke. He's trying to trap him. I mean, you've got two kind of hampered fights there. They're fun to watch. I mean, the one in Empire is still one of my all-time favorites, because it's really the first time you see Vader actually throw down and do some cool stuff. I like it. Fight against Obi-Wan, it's more talking. They're kind of toying with each other and figuring out what's going on.
I would probably go with the Duel of the Fates in Episode 1 as, if not my favorite, really really high up there, because I think it's one of the few fights where you really see the Jedi's truly going at it, because a lot of the time I think people hold back. Even when Yoda was going against the Emperor, I don't know if he was really going all out at all the times. But I think with those characters, there was no redemption element to that or defensive. I mean, the one with Obi-Wan and Anakin at the end is also an excellent fight. But like we said before, I mean, Obi-Wan is holding back, I think, with that. So just as far as characters just no holds barred going at it. I think that one's really good.
Yeah, the Anakin Obi-Wan fight still probably my all-time favorite for choreography.
That's good.
I mean, even if you believe Obi-Wan's holding back, which I don't really think he is, I think Anakin's got that much hate going that he is trying to overwhelm him, and he's throwing everything at Obi-Wan. I don't think Obi-Wan maybe goes for the killing blows, but again, his style's not for that. And the way that fight was staged and played out and everything, and against the lava backdrop, I mean, just gotta be my all-time favorite.
Yeah, those are definitely pretty fights. I think for me, the fight in Empire is probably the best because I think it tells a really good story just as it goes. I mean, it's not the prettiest choreographed fight, but, of Luke trying to desperately and just kind of slowly losing ground and eventually getting broken towards the end, I think is one of the more narrative fights. So that's why I tend to appreciate that one. I mean, plus the way it's shot, I mean, the iconic shot of them, in the carbon freezing chamber in Bespin. I think that's one of the more iconic shots in the series of the orange glow with the blue lighting in the back. So there's a lot in that fight that I really enjoy from a storytelling perspective.
I can see that.
Well, thank you for that, guys. Now we'll move on to a little bit more of the fun part of the episode, the part that everybody's here, the chalkboard picks. And we've got a modified chalkboard. We got a modified chalkboard this week or this episode. And I'm going to throw out some names or some positions, and you tell me which Star Wars character you most closely associate with the name. So just have a little bit of fun, whoever you think it is, and we can't start the list with anybody but Zlatan.
Lando Calrissian.
Phasma.
Wow.
Unmatched confidence and does not lose. Does lose. She's lost the last 2 movies, and there's still one to go, so it could be 3 in a row at home.
I had Sebastian Giovinco.
Darth Maul, fast, slippery, little small dude.
I went with Captain Rex. I just thought that he tends to be a go-to guy that tends to be pretty deadly, and that I thought summed up Giovinco pretty well.
I like that. Can't have a list of players without Dempsey on it.
Han Solo. You kidding me? Rogue doesn't give a hoot about rules. That's I mean, you can even put him in the dress and the outfit. He's Han Solo. I think he's got to be Han for me.
I also picked Han Solo. Never tell him the odds or what to do. A lovable rogue, but capable of tantrums.
That just makes too much sense.
I didn't get one for everybody. This was kind of hard, but I think the ones I got were pretty good.
Reed, we'll let you get this one first because this is one of Mike's favorite. David Villa.
I didn't have one for him. I couldn't think of one for him.
I mean, clearly he's Luke. He's the savior of everyone, the savior of the galaxy, just the best person ever.
Clearly there is another person that is Luke. Clearly there's another person that is Luke.
I have 2 options for on this list of who's Luke. All right, let's go.
Alex wins the Giovinco one, though. He just threw a comment at us. Giovinco's an Ewok.
Oh, man.
Michael Bradley.
All right, so I had 2 written down for this one. The first I had was General Hux because he manages to lose despite overwhelming odds. But then I ended up deciding to go with Darth Vader because he loves to choke.
I was also going with the choke element, except I went with Admiral Ozzel.
Oh.
Oh, man.
Wow. Ignacio Fiati.
Tell me wrong.
Say that again, Reed.
You skipped Almiron.
Oh, I did. Well, let's just do Piatti first, and we'll go back to him.
Well, I don't have a Piatti. I got a good one for Almiron, though.
All right, well, I'll do the Piatti. Piatti to me is a Yoda, because more of a you're like, how did he pull that off? Like, just like when Yoda pulls out the saber, like, wait, where did that come from? That's what Piatti's whole career has been for me. Like, where did that come from?
Nicely done, Mike. All right, Reed, who do you got for Almiron?
Okay, so for Almiron, I've got fast, deadly, and he's black and red. I think it worked, Atlanta. I was hoping for more laughs with that one, honestly.
I was waiting for you to say the name. I mean, I know it's Maul, but
yeah.
Well, I thought I didn't know I needed to. Yeah, yes. Darth Maul, fast, deadly, and black and red.
I went with Rey. Kid kind of comes out of nowhere and has crazy powers.
All right, one of the most polarizing figures in U.S. soccer and MLS in recent years, Jermaine Jones.
I went with Kylo Ren on this one because he likes to throw temper tantrums and throws fits all the time.
I went with Krennic because he is charged with base defense, but he's got a bad temper.
I like both of them.
Yeah, that one's good. He's as good as defense as Krennic is, too. Oh, man.
All right, America's hero. Let's go with Landon Donovan.
I got Landon as Obi-Wan. Now he's got that old presence of calm and just wisdom. He's on the beach. He's in Africa or Somalia, wherever he went. Just like Obi-Wan went to the desert, hung out there for a while instead of fighting, which is what he probably should have been doing. So Lando is Obi-Wan for me.
I think Landon Donovan is clearly Luke Skywalker. He's a promising young addition to Team Rebellion, but abandons the cause in his older age only to make a brief return before he fades away. Clearly Luke Skywalker.
Yep.
I can see that one too.
I don't have a failhopper, so just talk to Mike.
Mike, did you have one for Failhaber?
I did. For me, Failhaber is K2SO, the kind of snarky droid. We know Benny Failhaber with his show and then all the videos he made about Jurgen. I think he's K2SO.
That's a good point. I didn't think about that.
Mike, did you come up with one for Chad Marshall?
I don't. I'll hit it to Reed.
Chewbacca. He's been around forever, and I think a life debt sounds like a defender.
Okay.
This probably explains why he stuck around with Seattle so long.
And I struggled to find defenders for this list. I know we got a lot of attacking personalities in MLS, but defense has been kind of slim. I didn't get any keepers, did I? I'll throw a couple on the end of the list.
All right.
Aurelian Collin was one of my other defenders that I threw out here for you guys if you came up with somebody.
I said he's Jar Jar because he's a Red Bull, and so he's a joke. I want him to go on.
Bias there. I said he was Lobot because he's bald. That's what I got.
Oh my gosh, he does look like Lobot.
That's what I got.
Oh, he really does. That's good.
Oh man, yeah. I don't know how I forgot keepers. I had Tim Howard in one of my write-ups, so let's go with Tim Howard to start off with.
I don't know. I didn't prepare for any of that.
I'll
give it off the top of your head, Reed. That's half the fun of this.
Pulisic. Mark wants to know Pulisic.
Yeah, Mark.
Okay. Pulisic. First one off the top of my head is Poe Dameron. Young, cocky kid. Probably his plan's not too great to start off, but has got the talent.
If I can branch out some, then I guess I would go with Anakin Solo. I think that's for sort of the same reasons you said, Mike, about just being young and incredibly talented, and a banner carrier at some point for what he stands for. So I would go with Anakin.
All right, so next
I'm still thinking about the coward one.
Just gloss over that.
Oh.
I mean, do you have any keepers you could come up with off the top of your head that you associate with the Star Wars character pretty quick?
General Grievous for Tim Howard.
Oh, with the 4 arms?
Yeah. Seems like a keeper to me.
That's a good one.
I was trying to think if there was any kind of Star Wars character that just like cussed a lot, so I don't know. Oh, I guess we could go. No, that wouldn't work. I was thinking of the light gold, the silvery droid on Cloud City, where he walks by, he's like Ichuta, and C-3PO is like, how rude. But I don't know if that's maybe Sebulba. I don't know. That can kind of work.
Maybe Jabba the Hutt, because his palace is pretty impenetrable. You have to like sneak in. You can't get into the front gate. You're gonna have to like sneak people in over a few months' time. Yeah.
So next up, I had positions, and I don't know whether you guys came up with full rosters for this.
I built a 4-4-2.
Mike, did you
I didn't come up with full. I just wrote one next to them. But I did have ones for the light and the dark side. So
okay. That's most of a roster, so that'll work.
Yeah, all right. Well, if we're gonna put them together, then yeah, we'll do that. Okay. All right. For strikers, I had Luke Skywalker because he's kind of quick and fast, and then I had Krennic on the dark side because I think he would be kind of like the poacher. He would wait for someone else to do the hard work, and then he would just like kick it in. So he's kind of like the
Wando.
like the Wando. The Wando.
Yeah.
For midfielders, I think Thrawn, as far as like creative mind and like dissecting the defense. Also put Rey in there, as we saw in the throne scene. She's really good at setting someone else up for the kill, so that's why I had her in there. For wingers, I think first of all you have to have the ultimate wingman, which is Han Solo, as one of your wingers. Then I had Maul for his kind of speed on the side. For center backs, I had Chewbacca and Vader, get the big hulky tall guys in there, just shut everything down. Wing backs, I had Obi-Wan because Obi-Wan's kind of like a wing back. He can attack sometimes, defend sometimes. And then I had, but you don't want them to ever commit. So I had DJ as another wing back, because sometimes he'll attack, sometimes just whatever the way the things are required. For keepers, I had Yoda because, we've seen his blocking ability with his force powers, so I think he pretty much would stop everything else. But also threw Tarkin in there because he's very strategies. And then for managers, I had on the light side Leia Organa because I think she's a pretty good politician and could manage relationships. Now, as far as his ruthlessness, then you obviously had to have Emperor Palpatine as a manager. So kind of depending on your personality needs there. So that's what I came up with.
So I did not do light side, dark side. I sort of built my fantasy dream team of a 4-4-2 plus manager. So my strikers, I have Wedge, of course. Wedge and Luke are my 2 strikers up there at the top. Midfielders, I divided that, like Blaine had, into midfielders and wingers. So I kind of got this Lando as my creative one, just because I feel like he's got that smuggler, scoundrel creativity to him. And then I got Vader in there, probably going to be a D-mid coming in there with as my enforcer. On the wings on defense, I've got Boba Fett and Phasma. I think that suits them well in that more attacking role. Going back on the defense, in my center backs, I got Cody and Rex. I think they're an ideal pairing too with the best Storm clone troopers that are out there. I think that's going to work. Palpatine is Jesse March and Vieira is Yoda. There we go, Alex.
Just saw that.
My wingbacks, I've got R2-D2 because clearly we've already seen R2-D2 provide some excellent service in Return of the Jedi with his lightsaber skills, tossing that to Luke. And then similar mentality, Mike. I don't think Han Solo would view himself as a wingman. I think he's the one who would have a wingman, but I have him as a wingback because that allows him to be on the fringe of everything, but still be able to sweep in and kind of be attacking or fall back at his leisure. Goalkeepers, I went with Chirrut Imwe because he's one with the Force and the Force is with him. And I was just thinking back to that battle scene with the stormtroopers there on Jeddah where he was just like everywhere. And so I think he'd be a good goalkeeper. And team manager, I went with Thrawn just because of his tactical ability right there.
See, I think Chirrut should be a pro referee because he's blind.
Wow.
Sorry, I had to take that layup there.
Mark wanted to add a name to the list for who you guys think. Who is Mike Petke?
Who is Mike Petke? I would say, I can't think of his name. Who's the Gungan general that partners with Jar Jar? Mike, I think that's Mike Petke. Very, very well intended, but things just don't seem to go right for him.
Oh, see, I was gonna go with Lando for just like the cool dress.
I was trying to think who wears a sweater. I don't know.
Oh,
no, Lando would be the one to go get printouts and bring him to a press conference.
Oh man.
Lando wouldn't be the one to go out and get printouts. He'd be the one asking someone. He'd be getting Lobot to go get the printouts. That's why he'd be like, hey, give me these printouts.
So Lobot is Trey.
Lobot is Trey. Exactly. Lobot is Trey.
Oh. And then the last part of this list is probably the one I'm most excited for just because we've got a little bit of everything here. We got some soccer personalities for everybody. So we'll start off with, who is Don Garber?
Reed, I'll let you kick that one off.
I debated this one so much because there's the obvious choice of who he is, and I ended up going with the obvious choice of who he is, and I just called him the Emperor.
Yeah, I went with, I wrote down Lando. I've done Lando a bunch on this one, but I kind of thought like the good hustler swindler is going to smile at you while doing it. It was a little bit more to me than the Emperor. So I ended up with Lando on that one.
See, the other thing I debated about was Darth Bane because that's the rule of two, and I guess that would be MLS in some. But like I said, I went with the easy way of the Emperor in this.
Yeah. One of my favorites for national team duty, Ian Dark.
I have James Earl Jones. It's kind of a random one, but I mean, to me, James Earl Jones is the voice of Darth Vader, the voice of Star Wars. Ian Dark is the voice of soccer in America. So I went with James Earl Jones.
That's pretty good. I like that. I mean, I went with Yoda, just sort of like that sage advice kind of guy, but I like yours way better, Mike.
And then from kind of America's hero to one of the GOATs, you either love him or you hate him, Alexi Lawless.
I mean, I went with the redhead, Hux. I mean, he's kind of a whiny guy, way overconfident. To me, Hux was a pretty good fit.
I couldn't think of one. I don't know. I like Alexi Lawless, so I wasn't really quite sure which way people were going with this one. So I didn't get one. Sorry.
No problem. Jurgen Klinsmann. I guess this will show if you're really jaded still, or if you can kind of get past some of that.
I'm still pretty jaded. I went with Newt Gunray. Overconfidence and victory. Overconfident in victory, pretty clearly incompetent to anyone who's looking. So, yeah, I want Newt.
Jabba the Hutt. He is seen as a leader who knows how to run an organization, but ultimately everyone abandons him as things are going down in flames.
Ooh.
I thought it was good.
I like it. I like it. That's just
Nice.
a little harsh.
On point.
Not undeserved.
On point.
Andrew Wiebe.
Pass him out, Lobot.
that might be like the headline of this pass him out, live on.
Sorry, I got distracted by Mark.
Oh man. Oh, so we're on Wiebe?
Yeah, we're on Wiebe.
Well, so if any of you have followed me on Twitter knows that Wiebe, he promises a lot of things. He promised me a T-shirt. He still hasn't delivered. He promised to make transfers last year and he didn't deliver. And so for me, I was looking for a character who promised a lot but failed to deliver. And for me, that's Captain Phasma. Just a lot of expectations and just didn't deliver. So that's where I went with. Now, if he delivers me the T-shirt, then I'll change it to like Jyn Erso, who finally gave me what I was looking for. But, right now, it's Phasma.
I said that Wiebe was the younger Obi-Wan Kenobi when he was a Jedi Knight, or maybe that whole progression, because I guess we've kind of seen Wiebe move up through the ranks to where he is now, to a bit more of the higher position. And so I felt like that kind of summed up Obi-Wan from Padawan through pre-Alec Guinness pretty well.
Well, Wiebe will probably be happy to know nobody associated him with Jar Jar, so you that one. Matt Doyle.
Whew. I went with Tarkin. Big picture tactical analyst. You could also go Thrawn here.
I went with Thrawn here. He knows things, how they work, and how to break them down.
It's got to be one of those two.
I mean, if you're getting compared to Thrawn in a Star Wars podcast, that's doing something right.
I praise.
So, if Doyle is Thrawn, then who is Simon Borg?
Unkar Plut, I think, is one option for Simon Borg. For those of you who may not know who Unkar Plut is, he is the rations guy on Jakku, and he just seems to always be grumpy. And I felt like that was Simon Borg. Also, I was potentially thinking of Watto for similar reasons.
I was gonna go with Kylo Ren. If you've watched Simon Borg,
yes.
What?
Lego.
Wait, what'd you say, Reed?
I said tantrums. Yes.
Yeah, the tantrums, and we know how Kylo likes to flash red, and Simon Borg's always looking to send someone off for a red card. It's a replay, so to me, that's reckless endangerment, and that's sending off. You should have seen.
So, to the guy who kind of replaced Simon Borg, let's go with Bobby Warshaw.
I went with Yoda because a lot of times when you listen to what Yoda says, you're like, wait a minute, that doesn't even make sense. And that's the experience of listening to Bobby Warshaw sometimes.
I went with Dak Ralter, who is the gunner for Luke on Hoth. And I went with Dak because he came in with so much enthusiasm and has that great go get 'em spirit, but in the end, it doesn't always work out for him. I don't know. I don't know. It was kind of a pull, I thought, but I still thought it was kind of funny.
No, I like that. That is
a lot of it was based on so this isn't Bobby Warshaw as a player or necessarily Bobby Warshaw as a commentator. This was mostly Bobby Warshaw and some of his interactions through the Facebook Live fantasy streams and that kind of stuff. So kind of like, I don't know about that, Bobby.
And no fantasy podcast would be complete without a mention of Ben Bear.
For me, it's Director Krennic built a whole brand new system and clearly didn't test it for flaws.
Wow, that's harsh. That's really harsh. That's really harsh. C-3PO. He's got all the stats and numbers right at his hand. I was much nicer. I was waiting for that.
Well, that's my list for the chalkboard. Thank you guys for that. I think there's some good laughs in here. Can't wait to see some reactions on Twitter and Reddit for this one. Mike, I know you had been toying with a question. What was your question again?
We had talked about lightsabers, and then there was talking about whether you wanted to discuss your feelings on Revenge of the Sith Day. I think that was about it.
Yeah. So Reed, okay, we'll just kind of fire off into this one. Reed's not a big fan of the Force. We've kind of gotten that out tonight. Reed's not a big fan of the Force. I fall more in line with Anakin. I think the Jedi are pretty much evil. Doesn't mean the Sith are good, but I absolutely hate the Jedi and what they've become. And I don't know quite where you fall, Mike. I think you're kind of opposite of me on that one to a degree. Where do you land on that one? And Reed, we'll let you just kind of pick apart whatever you want.
I think the Jedi are like a corrupt religious order. They have gotten away from what it is. They've replaced science and technicality with instead of the mystery and wonder of the divine. And so to me, the Jedi are a fallen order that needs redemption, but they are not evil. So I do side with the Jedi against the Sith, particularly the way the Sith just indulge the passions without restraint. So I do appreciate the Jedi's practices there.
Yeah, and see, this is where I really get frustrated with the Jedi. They're almost brainwashing. They grab kids at a young age. You're taught to fear, hate, and strong emotion and love. I mean, that's a dangerous road to go down. And when you abandon your family, when your whole life is dedicated to the Order, and then you're not told to think with emotion and think outside the box, you're completely logical in the way you've been trained, it gets a little scary. And the power and the sway they held over the Senate, and you can see that with some of the interactions of this, with the senators. When the Jedi get uneasy about something, some of the senators try to go in and vote and change things the way the Jedi Order wants them to. I think they are. I agree, they're a fallen order. I think at the beginning they were designed as a protection group, and to kind of keep the Senate free from outside influences and let them do their job safely. But I think the power went to their head, and as the phrase goes, absolute power corrupts absolutely. When we see the Sith always fighting for more power and indulging those pleasures, as you said. But what's getting lost is that the Jedi are such a big organization and they're kind of faceless, but the organization as a whole is what is absorbing that power. And they've got that mysticism with them where most people don't question them, or they just go flat out mind tricks on people and just change their mind on a whim. And that's in large part why I celebrate Revenge of the Fifth instead of May the 4th, or I celebrate both together. Is I love sitting down with a bucket of popcorn and watching the Jedi Order just get absolutely wrecked.
It's nothing more Blaine loves than a nice mass genocide.
Yeah. You know, because I mean, the way to answer the fact that the Jedi took those kids from their families is to watch Anakin kill those same younglings, because should they be better off? You know?
The only thing I'll add to your comment, Blaine, is that I think it's unfair to talk about the Jedi having sway over the Senate like that, because I don't think that exists until after Palpatine starts coming in and giving some more authority or some more of that power to them. So I think there's that two-prong unbalancing that's going on, and that corruption that he's feeding from the inside. So I don't disagree with some of the things you're saying about some of the I don't know if ironic is what I really want to use in this sense, but just some of the reflection in themselves that they seem ignorant to see of what they're doing compared to some of the things that the Sith say as well. But I don't know if I'd go quite as far as you did. But they're all lame. They need magic because they're not as good on their own. Hokey religion.
Mm. So you must be pretty excited for the Han Solo movie, then, Reed. Because I don't think we're gonna get any Jedi.
I mean, you can be excited based on what I've said. I guess in that vein, I guess I could be excited for the Han Solo movie, but knowing some of the things about the Han Solo movie or the production of it kind of make me hesitant about the Han Solo movie. But let's just cut to it here. Disney, I'm talking to you. Make the movie everybody wants, and that's a Boba Fett movie. So let's just put that to rest.
Amen.
Everyone wants the Boba Fett movie.
I thought everyone wanted the Ewan McGregor Obi-Wan movie. That's what I keep saying.
Everyone wants the Boba Fett movie. We don't need more stuff about Jedi. The Boba Fett or the Wedge movie.
And I mean, there's so much you can do.
There are some rumors that Boba Fett is going to be in the Solo movie. So
that's fine too.
So, well, thanks everybody for joining us tonight. Mike, Reed, you guys have any final plugs?
No. I mean, obviously we'll talking about fantasy real quick. I mean, there is a new app. If you haven't seen, you should download the new app. You get pitch view on your phone, which is a nice change. Go check out injury news. Like Felipe Gutierrez is out for a while, which I know makes Blaine very sad. A bunch of Toronto injuries. So go check out injury news to get your transfers in before this week, if you're listening to this on Friday. And then otherwise, just listen to our podcast again on Monday.
Yeah, check out the podcast every Monday that we drop, Monday, early Tuesday, depending on how long the editing takes. But check that out on SoundCloud. It does feed to Stitcher and some of these other sources, but there's an error that's happened. So we didn't stop making the podcast, just there's some error with the feeding from SoundCloud. But yeah, check that out. And please share it. That's another thing. I know that it's maybe tempting to hoard fantasy secrets, but it only helps us and it helps the product if you can share our podcast around to others and just encourage people to listen. It was recently told to me that we need to broaden things at times because not everyone who's a fantasy player listens to MLSFI or follows MLS Fantasy Boss. And MLS Fantasy Boss has about 2,000 more followers than actually the official @fantasy account. So I think more people do than don't. But just share things. That's what I'm getting at. That kind of tongue in cheek right there. It really helps us out in the project we're trying to do. Definitely check out the injury things that Mike was telling you about. Check out the new app. It's kind of cool. Please keep in mind, this app was not to address any of the complaints and concerns that people have with the current state of the game. This was started before the game went live, and it's just now been finished. So pitch view is in there. So it's pretty cool. And it's definitely, I think, a lot easier to be able to make changes than it was had to log in and out of the website. Other than that, keep an eye out on the articles. Skylar's got his out there already. Mine will be coming out tomorrow for your picks. And check out everything popping up at MLS Fantasy Boss and over at r/fantasy MLS on Reddit.
You guys stole mine. I was going to talk about the app too. I mean, it's a great new addition.
You can still do that.
It's a great new addition to fantasy. I've played with it a little bit. I like the way it works. It doesn't fix the bugs like Reed said, but it gives you a way to check it from your phone a whole lot easier. It seems to run really smooth. I haven't had any major complaints about its performance. Maybe a few UI quirks, but it's just learning. Give yourself a little bit extra time. Don't try to do it at the last minute, but it's out there. And thanks for joining us tonight, everybody. If you have any ideas for fun other episodes, community building, I look at this fantasy community as a community out there to help. I don't care if I fall down to the top 5,000, and that's where I'm at. If the podcast is helping everybody get up ahead of me, so be it. That's the way it works, and that's what I'm here for. So keep sharing it and keep letting us know what we can do for fun stuff like this. Because, I mean, we're all Star Wars fans, but if there's anything else we can talk about, let us know.
Yeah, you can tell we're pretty big nerds, so we'll go in pop culture. Maybe we'll have a good Marvel one or something later after everyone's seen Infinity War.
No spoiler.
Marvel or Harry Potter's another good one.
Harry Potter's another good one.
Lord of the Rings.
Lord of the Rings.
I mean, Mark was saying May the 3rd is the anniversary of the Battle of Hogwarts.
That's true.
I mean, we got a busy time of the year right here. Battle of Hogwarts, May the 4th, Cinco de Mayo.
Derby Day.
Derby Day. There
There
go.
we go.
Well, thanks everybody for joining us, and may the Force be with you.
Bye.
Yeah, I'm waving. It's a podcast. What am I doing?
Well, there's someone on video, at least for you. My camera cut out like 20 minutes ago, and I have no idea why. It's like my camera not connected. I'm like, hello? Why are you not detecting my camera? So.
Okay.